Robert Smalls was named after a black guy that, let me think he was a man, he done something famous, I'm not sure. He could have been the one, I'm not sure. Do you know what Robert Smalls did? Something he did famous, that's why they named the camp after him. See, there was 17 training camps at Great Lakes. There'd be Perry, Smalls, and the name Smalls after this black guy. And they just opened this training camp up. See, at that time, the only way we went in, you had to go to Norfolk, Virginia to become a mess attendant. And the mess attendant served the officers. They prepared the food for them. They didn't prepare the food for the run of the mill, but it was a kind of a stigma attached to it. Like there'd be a stigma of shoeshine boy. Right. You understand what I mean? It was a stigma. So I would have went in before that, but didn't like that stigma. So as soon as they opened it up, I joined.
I was just curious about that because my dad also trained at Great Lakes, but you're saying that there were like 5 or 6.
Oh, there must have been. There was 16, I believe. Now I can't remember all of them, but we was in Camp Robert Smalls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's switch a little bit and talk a little bit about religion. Tell me about the religion of you and your family.
Well, back in that day, let me go way back. When my dad and mom left Meigs Township, they went to the All-Caucasian Church. I say all, it wasn't all because my dad and grandfather, so they belonged. And this is something that my grandfather was always proud of. He was one of the trustees of the church. They began to get along good over there. And he was one of the trustees, and he was very proud of the fact that he run the toll bell. Now, do you know what a toll bell is? All right? And there was a lady died, and her name, let me think, her name was Dingy, I believe. Okay. She lived to be 100, I think 3 years old. So my grandfather, something wouldn't mean nothing to you probably, but he was so proud that he was able to ring that toll bell. When the ambulance hearse left the home, you started ringing. And you rung the last toll when they pulled into the church. So he had to ring it 103 times. Now they had an article in the paper about this lady dying. I felt like calling them up and telling them that my grandfather rang the toll bell. And he got my dad on one hill and his sister on the other hill, and they would wave to him where they were at. And you started ringing it. That's when they left the home. And he had to go maybe a couple of miles. And when you were supposed to ring the last toll, when they pulled in and said, "Whoa," to the horses. Wow. Well, my grandfather rang that bell, and boy, was he proud of that. Oh, he just loved that.
Wow, what an honor.
But they was getting along pretty good, but to go way back, they went to going to church all together first, and then they fell out for some reason. I don't know what reason. But anyway, I was telling you about them burning the schools.
Right.
They'd run up and jerk the stove out.
Out of the church?
Yeah, because it was on fire, no way of putting it out. And then they burned it the next year. They jerked the stove out. So the next year when they burned it twice, now let me see. And the last year they burned it, the stove disappeared. So they never knew what become of it. And there was a Caucasian lady lived over there, and she passed away. Before she died, she wanted to talk to these people, a lot of the colored people. Then they were starting to go to church at the same church. So she said, "You probably wonder what happened to that stove." And they said, "Yes, they did." She said, "Well, I know what happened," and I cried about it, but said they dropped it in a big spring over. You know what a spring is? It's not a well. It's a spring that goes down maybe 10 feet. Okay. Then you have to clean it out every 2 or 3 years. Nobody used it anymore, so they dropped it down in that there spring. So they went and got it. Wasn't no good. It'd been 30 years. I always said they should have saved that stove. That was history. But they didn't. They should have saved that stove. But before it was all over, they was getting along good over there. Now, I'm not, they didn't marry one another, which they do today. They didn't marry one another. But Grandpa told me he never had no trouble after the Civil War. And I didn't know any of them to marry across the line in that day. And there was an old schoolhouse. The last one stood. Before the coal company tore it down, we went over there, and all the names, everybody that ever went to that school was wrote on the wall. There was people that didn't even go, just kind of wrote it on there. And too bad we didn't get pictures of it. I did get a picture of it before it fell in, but that wasn't really, the school.
When you think back to the church, though,
Well, the churches, we first went to Lemon Hill. They sent a letter down that they belonged to this church in Lytlesburg, which was a white church. And there was a white church on Lemon Hill. We went there for a few years, and then they did away with the church, not over no racial
was that a
thing.
Protestant church?
Yeah, it was a Methodist church.
Methodist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, the one in Young Hickory was a Methodist church, if I'm not mistaken. And then later on, my dad and several of them went together and took up money and built what they called then a colored church, a Baptist church right outside of Malda. And it was a Baptist church, and they always said they were Methodists in a Baptist church. Reverend Holt, he was from Louisiana. He was the preacher there. And I know that Reverend Holt was right, because he'd drive from Zanesville down there and preach. That was before they built the church. It was an old dance hall. And the collection would be $2, $1.50. So he went to help the people. He didn't go to make money.
Now, your family, you and your wife and your children, what church did you?
Well, I'm sorry to say I'm not a member of church now.
Okay.
I believe in religion. I believe in the good master. But there's one thing I don't believe: anybody's going to burn in hell's fire. I don't believe that. I believe that's something that was added to it. Maybe I'm wrong saying this. I live a good life, do the best I can. I don't think a just God's going to burn a soul forever and ever. Now, I'm just giving you my opinion.
Well, that's what
I could be wrong.
That's what we want to hear.
I could be wrong, but that's my belief. I think, and I'll tell you why I believe that. There's some things in the Bible that are, what do you call it, metaphor or something. They said a donkey talked, a snake talked. Now you know, and I know better than that. Did you ever see a snake talk? Now, that snake didn't talk. Now, they might have thought he talked. And I think some of the things it was wrote by man, I think some of the things, maybe they thought they was inspired by God, maybe it wasn't. But don't get me wrong, I believe in church, definitely. If there was never a hereafter and there was never a God, just good common sense. Just good. That 10 Commandments, if you live by that 10 Commandments, you haven't done nothing wrong.
Thank you. Tell me about how you learned about slavery.
Well, my grandfather talked about it because he was born in 1851 over here by Young Hickory. As far as the N-word, if I would have said that, he viewed that as a 4-letter word. You did not say that. You could say Negro, but if you said that other word, the N-word, he would tell you right now, shut your mouth. That word's not spoken in this house. That was his belief. Now you hear kids in school, what's his name? The singer, the man that, not the singer, I know his name as well as know my own, told him about using that word. What was his name? Crosby, Bill Crosby.
Bill Crosby.
Said that word should not be used. And they got all over him for it. I'm 100% behind Crosby. If you want to be respected, and act like you're going to be respected. And don't call me that and expect nobody else to call you that. And my grandfather, he taught me that. That's one of them things. And I know, I'll tell you something happened in Morgan County. A lot of these people felt like that. One colored man called the other that. He very near broke his jaw right in the store.
Wow.
He was in the AP store, and he hauled up and hit that man and knocked him clear out. Told him, don't you ever say that to me again. But you call him a colored man or a Negro, he didn't say a word.
Right.
They called that a very commentary word.
What are, I mean, that's a very important message. What else did you learn about slavery? What
Well,
other things
my
did you-
stepmother's father was a man from Mississippi. My dad met her on a train, met my stepmother, and they got married about a little over a year after Mom died. And he come to live with us the last 2 years. And he told me his grandmother told him about slavery. And he was really down on it. And he told me that the custom there was, he comes from a family of 17 children. His name was Andrew Jackson Cumbus. He had 17 in the family. He told me he worked for his dad. His dad owned this plantation somewhere in Mississippi. And he told him, Andrew, you're 21. Now you have to move on for the little ones. It was 17 of them. He said his dad gave him a pistol or a shotgun, whichever you wanted, a horse, and a dowry of $3. And then you had to go from there and make it. Now that was a custom in Mississippi at the time. Yeah, he was down on slavery, but he didn't dwell on it. He was like Adam Clayton Powell said. Not Adam Clayton Powell. No, the man that was, I know his name well as know my own, Colin Powell said. He was like that. He said, you don't look in the rear vision mirror. You don't have a key. You cannot turn back the clock. You look through the windshield. You can't do nothing about yesterday. All you got is today and tomorrow and hereafter. You can remember, but don't look back. And I think Jesse Owens said, don't look back. No, it was the ball player. Don't look back. Something might be gaining on you.
Jackie Robinson?
Yeah, no. The fellow that, Satchel Paige.
Oh, Satchel Paige.
I think it was Satchel Paige, yes. It never look back. Something might be gaining on you. But I do believe this. I believe you have to look forward. They don't make a key. You can't turn back the clock.
Can't turn back the clock.
Yeah. I've always told my kids that.
Well, because I heard a story of, and I want to check this out with you, about the runaway slaves who were hidden beneath the haystack.
About what?
The runaway slaves that were hidden beneath the haystack.
Oh, in the haystack?
Yes.
Well, now you got that wrong. This is the way the story was. My grandfather told me this. He died back about 35. He was a little boy. And so, naturally, James Lett was walking a tightrope. I don't know where these people got their money, but they were pretty well fixed by them standards. For when he died, he had 12 children and took 2 to raise. When they settled his estate, each one of them got $1,200. That is nothing today, but that was a lot of money in that day. So a Caucasian man had came to him and said, I got some slaves here. He said, well, I didn't know you was in it. He said, no, I don't, nobody knows it. They're coming to raid me. I've been tipped off. Sheriff's office or somewhere. They're coming tomorrow morning. I got to get them out of here. You being a colored man, I think you'd understand. Well, where would you want me to put them? He said, we'll take a haystack and we'll hollow it out. So they hollowed it out,